back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon podcast. I am your host, Perry. I don't know why I started it out that way, but I did. It was a little bit weirder than normal. I apologize, but hope you're well. Happy you're here. Thanks so much for checking in. I got a great interview with country artist Cory Marks coming up here in just a little bit, but before we get there, I almost said a little bit of housekeeping, but I don't really have any housekeeping to do because it's been a pretty chill week. Things have just been chugging along. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with last week's episode like I did the week prior, so we're just here. It's just how it is, I guess. No news is good news, I suppose. We do kick every episode off, though, with a segment known as Flying Blind, where I try things I've never had before or something that I have had in the past and have, no longer familiar with. In this case, though, I had an inkling that I should grab a couple of samples out of a box that I had neglected for a while. Even though I've had stuff out of it in the past, but there were two samples that were sitting there that I was like, I'm just going to grab these and see what they're about. And lo and behold, they actually wound up being from the exact same distillery. They were sent to me by my buddy David Levine of the Whiskey Ring podcast. And they both wound up being wheated bourbons. One of them is called Morning Glory Kasha Bourbon, and the other is William Dalton Wheated Bourbon. They are both from Spirits of French Lick up in French Lick, Indiana. David sent these to me a long time ago, and I just have not gotten around to trying them until now, and I apologize to David for that. I have a bad habit of letting samples just kind of sit. And that's why I started a show called Samply Irresistible on the Patreon, which if you're not subscribed over there yet, you can get that show and a whole bunch of extra bonus stuff for $5 a month. But yeah, I wanted to pull up some information about both of these bourbons. The Morning Glory is a straight bourbon whiskey with a mash bill composed of corn, rye, kasha, toasted buckwheat, and malt. The name comes from a tavern that operated near Campbellsburg, Indiana. Some even allege that during Prohibition it operated on the second floor of the old Clifty Mill. Aged exclusively, I don't really need all that information. But it is bottled and bond. It is 100 proof. And then the William Dalton bottled and bond has a mash bill of 70% corn, 20% wheat, and 10% two-roll caramel malt. It is 100% double pot distilled and has a barrel entry proof at 105. The Kasha, or the Morning Glory, also had a barrel entry proof of 105. So I think I might start with the William Dalton, actually, instead of the Morning Glory. Also, they have number 2 charred oak barrels. Interesting. I'm not used to a number 2 char oak. That's quite different. Anyway, let's see what the William Dalton has going on here. Sweet, sugary, caramel, molasses. Little fruity, kind of flowery as well. Floral, I guess, is the better word for that. Overall, just kind of a vibrant, bright nose. Kind of what I expected on the palate. A bit grainy. Also pretty light. Little butterscotchy. It's not bad. It's actually really quite delightful, to be honest with you. Was not expecting that. All right. Let's move on to the morning glory now. Entirely different. Wait a second. Hold on. I don't know what's going on with the nose here. Unless I caught COVID in the span of about a minute, I'm not really getting anything on the nose. Other than some, like, light malt. And a bit of, like, toasted cedar or something. I don't know. It's just not it's not really going anywhere, oddly enough. The mouthfeel is so oily. The palate is like it reminds me of frosted mini wheats. I don't know what else to say. Like that is the main flavor note, the main tasting note that I'm getting on this. It is frosted mini wheats in a whiskey. That's bizarre. I also just can't believe that these are the two samples that I pulled, and they were both from Spirits of French Lick. Like, just so happened that that's what I got out of this box. What a strange pair of samples. My brain was not prepared for whatever this is. Okay, well, we're going to try both of them blended together because why not? The Kasha is so odd. The Morning Glory. What a and it's not bad by any means. It is just so out of left field that my brain almost like doesn't know how to deal with it. It's just so particular and such a like a different flavor profile. Okay. The two of them blended together might have been a mistake. I'm not going to lie. Nose isn't great. Palate is fine. It is aggressively okay. To use a phrase that I feel like I coined, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Let's talk about what I've been drinking recently. And honestly, not a whole lot. It's been kind of a chill week for the most part. I've been getting into a little bit of some rare character single barrels that old Chade has handed off to me. I was on full blown dad duty this past weekend. That I said this on my live stream last night. When I talked about it in this context, I made it sound like I was divorced. I'm not divorced, of course. But I was fully taking care of my daughters on Friday and Saturday. because my wife was gone for my sister-in-law's bachelorette party weekend. And so I just didn't have a lot of time to sit down and have a drink, really until they were asleep. And even then it was just kind of like whatever I can grab that was the most convenient. But otherwise, I mean, oh, you know what? I did do this on my live stream last night and talked about it, but New Belgium sent me a 6-pack of the collaboration that they do with Four Roses every year, which is their bourbon barrel ale, Oakspire, which was awesome. In past years, they've sent me like a bottle and a glass, which is super cool. Don't get me wrong. But opening the box and seeing a 6-pack in there was crazy. Like, I just was not prepared for a full 6-pack of this bourbon barrel ale. And I talked about it on last week's episode. I look forward to this release every year. It's one of my favorite limited bourbon barrel ales that come out. And it's just a very simple. I love New Belgium. I think they're a fantastic brewery. They teeter that line between being like, what is, what are they? They don't call it microbrewery anymore. Craft brewery. And being one of like the big guys. And I think they're perfect. I said this last week too. I really want to work with them more. I think it would be a great partnership to, elevate some of the content that I make and have some backing from a group like that. I think it would just be awesome. But yeah, I had a couple of Oakspires this week. And they're good. Oakspires are good, man. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, nothing really too terribly of note. So, unfortunately, sometimes what you've been drinking recently kind of goes that way. So, apologies. I'll work on it for next week. Trust me. Don't worry about it. Folks, I am very excited to be welcoming Cory Marks to the podcast. His newest release, Sorry for Nothing Volume 2, is out now. You can check it out on all of your favorite music services. Cory, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, Perry. I'm doing good, man.
Good.
How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. It's early Thursday morning, but I can't complain too much, dude. Can't complain too much.
Barely hanging in, but hanging on.
That's kind of the general vibe as of late. I feel like, that's how things have been going in general. But we're getting through it. We're getting through it. I start my main episodes of the podcast by answering a question to myself of what I've been drinking recently. So I'm going to ask you, Cory. What have you been drinking recently?
What haven't I been drinking recently? Given it is called the Bourbon Podcast, but I'm typically like a Jack Daniels guy. I love my Jack, but I'm not a huge like connoisseur, like know much about it. It's just like I know what I like and that's what I drink. But I've actually just been on a tequila train lately, like Casamigos and 1800 and stuff, and trying to keep it light, a little less sugar.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I have recently rediscovered my love for Jack Daniel's Old Number 7 too. So yeah, I'm in the same boat as you.
I got the tattoo right here, so
there you go.
I almost have to have a little Jack every now and then. We've got a lot of great memories together. Most we don't remember, but I know they're there somewhere in the fog.
There you go. Let's talk about this newest release. Sorry for Nothing. This is the second edition, essentially of you put out a full album, Sorry for Nothing, and then this is an EP, correct?
No, it's an LP, full length. They're both they're both full length. Yeah. So I released Sorry for Nothing Volume 1, December 2024. And then just released Sorry for Nothing Volume 2, October 3rd. And basically it's a big batch of songs. I've been writing so much since the pandemic and working with Kevin Churko and Andrew Bayless and Kyle Odell on the production side of things, and just been writing my ass off. And so essentially these are my favorite songs, but I didn't want to put them all on one record. So we made the first album again, which come out December 2024. And I didn't want to wait too long to have the second batch out. So Sorry for Nothing Volume 2 come out 3 weeks ago, October 3rd. And so it's altogether, I think it's 23 or 24 songs, something like that. And I think it's some of my best work yet. So it's songs that I really love and I'm proud of. And I think that whether you're country or rock or even a little metal too, you're going to find something you appreciate in there somewhere, if not all of it, I hope.
I want to talk about your specific genre in a moment, because it does kind of blur lines between a bunch of influences. But I also want to talk a little bit about road testing songs, because I think that what a lot of people don't know is that when you go into a studio, you're not always, taking songs that people haven't heard before. So how much of this material had people heard prior to laying it down in the studio?
Well, I think over the last couple years playing festivals, we tried out some songs, and it's certainly something when you play the songs live and you see the reactions from the fans or people that especially after when I was on tour with ZZ Top, I decided to throw Make My Country Rock into the set, and it hadn't been released yet. And when you have a bunch of fans after the show and the meet and greet say, hey, what was that? What's that country rock song? Or what's that song that says, I've been known to piss some people off, which is the opening line? You have something special there. But most of this stuff, I played it because I wanted to play it, and the songs I'm writing, for me in hopes to connect with other people. So it's all music that I love, and only hope that the world loves it back, as much as I do. And so we've tried some of these songs in festivals and whatnot, but a lot of it, it's only a handful off each album that we've actually played live prior to the release. But then when the album comes out, it's I like to leave that for a little bit of surprise and kind of see what happens
Sure.
with the songs, what kind of reactions we get.
Right. Talking about your specific influences as well, you mentioned ZZ Top, but there's so much more behind what you actually play and the energy that you bring. It's not, even though I think what is billed by, in your music is country, you don't really, give off general country vibes with a lot of your tunes. There is more like of a, especially when you go into some of your like early tracks on records, there's more like metal influence. Definitely, the rock and roll, like hard rock kind of influence as well. Where does that come from? How are you, able to balance all of that when you're songwriting?
I think it depends which songs you're listening to, and some people, some people will say, "Oh, I love this song," or it's the focus single, or one of the focus tracks from the album, and then you ask like, "Oh, have you listened to the album yet? Oh, you got an album out?" It's like, so it's kind of like, well, you got to go listen to the thing as a whole, and then you get it. Because I grew up on everything from Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, Waylon Jennings, Travis Tritt, into Vince Gill, Brad Paisley, and then of course, hop on over to there's Shania Twain too, being from Northern Ontario, Canada. But then there's also Bryan Adams, there's Ozzy, there's Rush, there's Deep Purple and Grand Funk. Because I was a drummer before all this. As a kid, that was my first love was drumming, and so I started drumming at a young age. But and then into my teens, that's where the more progressive and heavier I got with, then by the 13, 14, there was the likes of Dream Theater. Then by 15, 16, you're talking Pantera, Arch Enemy, Lamb of God, and Metallica. And then so it's all music and genres that I really loved for certain things and certain characteristics of what they bring to me. And so when I became a singer songwriter, it was my goal to say, and to kind of say like, well, who's doing a Merle Haggard like song, but then can also goes over to the dark side and does more of like a maybe an Ozzy Osbourne, and then pulls it back and kind of does like, almost like a mix of Eric Church and Bryan Adams, and then it's like all of them together as well. And I think there's nobody doing that, and quite like, like the way Kevin Churko and I started these songs, like Outlaws and Outsiders and Blame It on the Double and Keep Doing What I Do. So I've just really, it's always been my goal, and I think my job, to kind of mix those up as best as possible, and most of all, just have a lot of fun with it.
I'm sure that it makes for a very interesting and energetic atmosphere at shows too.
Definitely. That's one thing that I've always been told is, man, your energy is insane. And that even comes off of, and that could be a little help with Jack Daniels or Casamigos every now and then if you need it. But, it's one thing that I take pride in, because it's my job, especially, where I'm at right now, where I'm opening for acts and lucky enough to hop on these major tours. It's my job to get that crowd going, get them ready for the remainder of the show, but hopefully leave a memory in their mind that they're going to want to come back and see a Cory Marks show, or go listen to the Cory Marks full album instead of just the focus tracks and whatnot. And, right. Get out there and make as many fans as you can, all while, getting everybody ready for the headliner and the big show.
I want to hone in on something for a second too, because being a Merle fan myself,
lovely.
It kind of like it brings out this feeling of like there's not a lot of like honest country music in the way that Merle did in his day.
Unfortunately.
And yeah, exactly. And like, I'm not like, I have this Stapleton record behind me, not for show, but like when I take pictures for, episodes, like I like to have a little record in the background and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like I'm going to name 3 Kentucky boys, but Sturgill, Tyler, and Stapleton. Right? Like they are kind of, taking on that mantle right now of like the modern Merles, right?
Yeah, sure.
What is your take on what modern country music looks like at the moment?
It's hard to say, because I have my opinion, and some people may not like it, but it's just how it is. I think it's very too confined into this little pop box, I call it a pop box because it's very much more pop than anything. They just add some banjo and some hand claps and away we go. And so I find country music's kind of been has lost their identity, and for a very long time, where they're just kind of all over the place and kind of jumping on what's hot and what's, instead of being like, no, this is country music, and I think it's fine, that we can venture off and have some acts that are doing this and doing that, and like the Jelly Rolls and stuff like that. But I just feel like once they decide that, it just simply takes over. So every artist sounds the same. Every song has to be this long, this tempo, and have this almost the same concept. There's very few, like the newer acts now. I say newer, but a lot of them have been around for a while. But of course, that's just how it is. The overnight success. Cody Johnson, I think, is kick-ass. It's an artist I'd love to see live. I think, he's the real deal. And, even his story is cool. I believe he was a jail guard or something. And, he just had great people around to push him to sing and do something because he had something special. And I mean, he's a big Merle Haggard fan too. So I think Cody Johnson's something special. But then you have, it's crazy because I talked about this guy, a few years ago before anybody knew who he was. And even like, hey man, you hear the sack top guy? Like, but that's the power of, I call it the big machine, where it's like, no one gives a shit until they go, okay, yeah, we're going to get behind you. Now this is the guy. Now this is the guy that you should listen to. But, bluegrass guy. So he can pick and he could sing and can do it he's been doing it a long time. But now he's been in the limelight for, just over a year now, but I've known him for 3+ years or so. So I think, I'm glad to see that coming back. It's very nice to see. But again, it's almost like on their own, the industry's own terms. It's like even though I'm doing the rock thing, and it might be a little more rock focused because of the label I'm with. However, I've been doing Merle stuff and real country songs with a fiddle. I mean, I've opened up for, Five Finger Death Punch and stuff like that, and I have a fiddle player in my band. So it's like, I've been doing that kind of thing for a very long time. But it's kind of like what the big machine and industry wants you to see and hear is what you're going to hear mostly, unless you kind of do some digging yourself and find someone so it's a real crazy time in music, especially in country music. But well, you never know what's going to happen, and it's sad in some ways and cool in others, But I guess that's just the music industry.
Do you think that, and not to center the entire conversation around him, but do you think that Merle is the kind of the epicenter of what makes people fans of? Well, I mean, he is the GOAT. Yes, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But what makes people fans of like real country music, or what at least drives singer songwriters or country music songwriters to like invoke what is real country music?
I think he's definitely one of them. I mean, a lot of people will reference like Johnny Cash or George Jones, and of course there's Waylon too. But I mean, even those guys would say that Merle was the guy.
Yeah.
And even though they're obviously legends in their own right, but I think Merle has a lot to do with that, just given the fact, he really stood for what he believed in. And he really sang about what he knew and what he experienced and what he believed in and what he wanted to say. And I think that's very important for artists these days to do and say that, because the word art is in the word artist, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think that's our job to do that and be the artist you want to be, and not be, what they're telling you to be or how they want you to be, because I find it's easy to kind of get lost and you lose yourself. And it's like, well, what's the point of doing it all if you're not going to do it your way or the way you want to, the way you want to say things or do things. So I think it's really important. And Merle is, one of the best at it.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit here because I've been eyeing your Toronto Maple Leafs jersey.
I forget that stands out. It's beside the drum set there. I should have a gold and platinum record hanging out there instead, but they're on the wall.
Can you be a real Canadian without being a hockey fan?
Yeah, of course. I think there's I mean, no, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, not all, I got friends that don't watch hockey at all and kind of care less for it. And, maybe they're like more like hunters and fishers and stuff, but I think it's definitely in our blood and our DNA. And, that you got to have some sort of love for the greatest game on earth if you come from Canada.
There you go.
That being hockey, of course. Had to make that very clear for any listeners in the US or abroad in UK or whatever. We're not talking football or soccer. We're talking hockey.
Second most important question then. Letterkenny or Shoresy?
None.
Neither.
Trailer Park Boys.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And both those, I just haven't given them a chance, but I don't really watch a lot of TV. And when I do, fair. It's more like background noise. Like it'll either be Family Guy or Trailer Park Boys, just kind of background or like for kind of hanging around the house and need some, or you just, or you just want to just escape and just watch something that's going to make you laugh without a doubt. And those are definitely my two go-tos.
That's completely my wife and I, when we first watched Letterkenny, we were like, we got to watch this with subtitles on.
No doubt about it there, buddy.
Yeah.
No doubt about it there, buddy.
Yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve for us, but we'd absolutely love those shows.
And where are you out of?
I'm in Kentucky.
You're in
Lexington,
Kentucky. All
Kentucky.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's called the Bourbon Podcast, I guess, huh?
Yeah, exactly. grew up around it, but
Lovely.
I know that when we do the music interviews, I don't normally talk a lot about bourbon, but I'm musically inclined as well, so it's
I love it.
how it goes. So
Yeah, man.
But
Goes hand
Cory,
in hand.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they follow you on socials and all that?
Well, my pleasure, Perry. Thanks for taking the time and the wonderful questions and the conversations of Merle Haggard and of course the great game of hockey. So I appreciate that. Yeah, everyone can find me if you're on Spotify. Follow me on Spotify, Cory Marks, of course, and Pandora and all that good stuff, and Apple. But most of all, is Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is at Cory Marks Music, and of course CoryMarks.com for all the other links, details, merch, and tour dates, and et cetera, et cetera.
There you go. Cory, cheers, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Perry. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great one. I appreciate you.
You too, dude. All right, y'all. We're going to jump back into our regular segments. We're going to get into Barrel Rings, the segment of the show that you can be a part of by calling and leaving a voicemail or sending a text message to our hotline number. That's 859-428-8253. You can, as I said, leave a text message or a voicemail. Our first text message comes from our buddy W. Leb, whom we've not heard from in a while, but it's good to have a message from him. He said, "Hey, Perry, long time no barrel ring. I think you're doing a great job solo. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Glad your job is still safe. Interesting that people within the government and other professions are not getting paid while Congress gets paid to be indecisive. Not going any further with that." Zipping my lips. A couple of other things, one being your discussion on different kinds of oak being used around the world. I was wondering, if we use white oak here for making barrels, are the other countries' oaks just a version of our white oak? Or are the other kinds of oak that, or are there other kinds of oak that can be used? I don't know. That's a good question. I think that it does have to be white oak. Because I talked about this on last week's episode, and I'm like 98% sure that it does have to be white oak unless they changed that language in legal documents as well. But I'll have to do a little bit more digging into that. Also, if you know better than I do, and you likely do, please let me know. Send in a barrel ring or shoot me an email. Hit me up in the DMs, whatever. Second, that comedy skit that you played as a barrel ring kind of sounds like Dean Martin to me. At first, I thought it was Foster Brooks, who was hilarious, or should I say was. Could be wrong, but it sounded like it to me anyway. Have a great week. So I had to cut it out of the YouTube version because it was copyrighted. Ajax Liquor Store is what it was called, and I, for the life of me, do not know who it was that sent that in way back when. But apparently somebody sent in a copyrighted comedy skit called Ajax Liquor Store. Let's just look it up real quick because I'm curious. Hudson and Landry. Okay. It was nominated for a Grammy. What do you know? Thank you so much for texting in, W. Lib, one of our longtime barrel ringers. And then we got a voicemail from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jared.
Hey, what's up, Perry? Just wanted to call and say hi. You know, 'cause I left work early today so I can watch my 8th grader play middle school soccer, and instead I just stood out in a cold, windy field and watched him get his ass handed to him all game. And now I'm stuck in Carline because I got to pick up a 4th grader from his after-school club. So it's just a lovely afternoon here. But I thought I'd call and say hi because I had nothing better to do. And you know what? It's Thursday night, so I can drink whiskey and watch football tonight. So that'll turn it around once I'm done cooking dinner for everybody. and then catching up on the work that I missed to watch my middle schooler get his ass kicked. So, all right. Hope your Thursday's better. Bye.
I love that the new meta for barrel rings is people calling in when they're in their cars. There is something about that just absolutely cracks me up. So that's the new, that's the new tagline. Barrel rings, so convenient that you can do it from your car. Call in while you're driving, but don't drink and drive, please, for the love of God. Drink responsibly. Also, if you noticed while I was listening to Jared's voicemail, I was taking a sip from what looked to be a cocktail. That's right. I am drinking a cocktail that I made behind the paywall for Patreon. And if you want more information about that, again, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. And next week, I will talk more about what this is specifically with more information on how you can make one yourself, too. And it's delicious. And could get you in trouble. I'll say that much. Let's move on now to Tips and Bits, the segment of the show where I recommend things that I've been watching, reading, listening to, enjoying that I also want you to check out because I think that they would elevate your life and make what you do in your leisure time better, I guess. I don't know. This week, I beat Donkey Kong Bonanza after some grueling gameplay that I managed to make it through like 97% of the game without having to look for any kind of hints or tips or anything. And I hit like 2 walls, and the first one, I actually don't remember what the very first one was, but the second one was like in post-final boss content, and I was almost beating my head against the wall because I was so frustrated with it. And then I finally got through it, and it was so nice and so rewarding, and I felt so good once it was all said and done. It is a beautiful game. It is extremely well crafted. I think it looks gorgeous. I really don't mind the remodel of Donkey Kong, especially because this is essentially the character model that was introduced in the Super Mario Brothers movie. Just kind of translated to the video game. It's not like a 1-to-1, but it's pretty close. That being said, though, it's not. I'm not without gripes on this game. Like there are a couple of things that bug me about it. The first one is that it can feel a little repetitive, with. In regards to collection. Like the whole premise of it is that you are trying to get yourself back to the surface of the earth after being submerged below the earth's crust. And you are constantly collecting like gold and coins and banana gems. And it just feels a little repetitive during the collecting process. Like it's not that and I think you can probably say this about any video game, that it can be a little samey once you get into, the 10th hour of playing it. But in this case, it didn't really, like, there are upgrades that you get that can enhance some of the gameplay. And maybe maybe I need to replay it with that in mind. Like I could, fall victim to not utilizing some of the upgrades that I had access to. But that being said, though, at its core, it can definitely feel repetitive. There was another point that I had, and now I have completely forgotten what it was. I don't know. But otherwise, I mean, like, I still had so much fun playing it, and I looked forward constantly to picking it up. And I'm still not entirely done with playing it. Like, I still am motivated to go back and continue collecting. I finished it, but that mainly means like I finished going through the main story and the post story, collecting of stuff. Like, there's also DLC content, which is also fun and mainly just consists of you smashing through terrain to collect more gems, which is just kind of this game in a nutshell. But it's a good time. I don't have really too many gripes with it overall, but it's probably like out of 10, I want to say like a 7.5 or an 8. I mean, it's not my favorite game, but it's definitely not my least favorite game by any means. I think I still like, it's made by the same people who made Super Mario Odyssey. I think I still like Super Mario Odyssey better than I do Donkey Kong Bonanza, but even still, it is nice to have this game as like a partner or a sister game to Super Mario Odyssey. And there are moments where I'm like, I think I just want to play Super Mario Odyssey. Like, I just I don't know, maybe it's because I am a bigger Mario fan than I am Donkey Kong, or maybe just the gameplay of Super Mario Odyssey is a bit more not streamlined, not intuitive, but a bit more fresh and less repetitive than Donkey Kong Bonanza is. And it feels like there's more to do than there is in Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, I feel like I kind of breezed through, even though it took me a couple of weeks. I feel like I kind of breezed through Bonanza, whereas Odyssey, it felt like I was immersed in it for like a month or so. But I mean, that could be, me misremembering it. I also haven't replayed from the ground up Odyssey in a long time. I mean, it's been a while. But I don't know if I'm mentally ready to jump back into that from the start just yet. Bonanza is still like fresh on my mind, and I'm very much looking forward to maybe even replaying it here soon. Knowing the controls, knowing the platforming, knowing how it operates pretty well, and maybe even streaming it soon here too. I don't know, twitch.tv/mybourbonpod. Who's to say? We'll find out. All that being said, though, that does it for another week's episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. If you want more of this and you like what I've been doing, please head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast and support the show for as little as $1 a month. For as little as $5 a month, though, you get bonus content every single week. Oh, and every single tier that is not free, that you have to pay for. You have access to the Discord where you can come and chat with us on a consistent basis. You can ping me and I'll look at your dumb message and I'll say, "What are you doing?" And respond to you. No, I love it. I love the Discord. It's such a fun, bizarre, weird little time. And it's good. It's a good place to hang out. And I appreciate everybody who's over there. But yeah, $5 and up, you get bonus content. There's other tiers where you get other little benefits, other little things. Benefits is the best word for it. You can follow the show on all social media at My Bourbon Pod. If you want to follow me personally, though, I am at pritter1792. If you have questions or comments, you can send them to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. Speaking of the Bourbon Shop, that was how all of this started way, way, way back in 2017. This is also the 8-year anniversary episode of the podcast somehow. Oddly enough, which I just kind of breezed right through. But back in 2017, things got kicked off with an apparel and merchandise shop, which is still active, and you can find all of that at bourbonshop.threadless.com. Logo t-shirts, there's stickers, there's other little sayings, and just wonderful shirts, stickers, skateboards, magnets, coffee cups, notebooks, towels, curtains. There's what else do we have? There's a whole bunch of stuff. You just got to go over there and check it out. You can send stuff to the P.O. Box, P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky 40522. You can also send in a barrel ring, as we said before, 859-428-8253. And then last but not least, you can leave a 5-star rating and review on your podcast app of choice. And we'll read it out here on the show if I can find it. And usually I do. How are we doing on Spotify, by the way? Let's see how we're doing on Spotify. We still got that 5-star rating? We do. Still got a solid 5-star rating on Spotify. Thank you all for that. I appreciate it. We have a 5-star rating on Facebook? Heck yeah. Oh, that's Bourbon Podcast. Those guys. This is my Bourbon Podcast. This is a French website. Anyway. All right. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. I'll see you next week. Until then, my name is Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.